There is a quiet force shaping your life every single day. It does not speak loudly. It does not demand your attention. It does not announce itself as a problem. And yet, it influences your decisions, your relationships, your identity, and your future. That force is self-deception. Most people believe deception is something that happens between individuals, a lie told from one person to another. But the most powerful form of deception is the one that happens within. The thoughts you accept without question, the stories you repeat without examination, the identities you carry without awareness. Self-deception is not accidental. It is constructed, carefully, quietly, repeatedly, and over time it becomes so familiar that it feels like truth. The human mind is designed to protect, not to reveal everything, not to expose every weakness, not to confront every uncomfortable reality. It protects by shaping perception. It protects by softening truth. It protects by creating narratives that allow you to continue functioning. At some point in your life, you encountered something that felt too heavy to carry directly. A disappointment, a rejection, a moment of being unseen, a moment of being misunderstood. And instead of holding the full weight of that experience, your mind adjusted it. It rewrote it. It gave it meaning that felt easier to live with. This is where self-deception begins, not in weakness, in adaptation. The child who felt ignored may tell themselves they do not need anyone. The person who experienced rejection may decide they are better off alone. The individual who felt not enough may build an identity around constant achievement. These are not conscious decisions. They are protective conclusions. And once a conclusion is formed, the mind begins to organize reality around it. It filters information. It selects evidence. It reinforces the story. If you believe you are not valued, you will notice every moment that confirms it. If you believe you must prove yourself, you will create situations that require effort and validation. If you believe connection is unsafe, you will distance yourself even when connection is available. This is the architecture of identity, not built on objective truth, built on repeated interpretation. And what is repeated becomes familiar. What is familiar becomes comfortable. What is comfortable becomes accepted. And what is accepted becomes identity. This is how a person can live for years inside a version of themselves that was never consciously chosen. A version that was constructed in response to past experiences. A version that once served a purpose, but may no longer serve the life they are trying to build. The challenge with self-deception is not that it exists. The challenge is that it feels accurate. It feels logical. It feels justified. You at truth does not always feel comfortable. Truth often disrupts. Truth often challenges. Truth often requires change. And change introduces uncertainty. So the mind prefers the familiar story, even if that story limits growth. Even if that story restricts possibility. Even if that story creates a life that feels misaligned. This is where when, because it feels that way, it is rarely questioned. Bareness becomes powerful, not awareness of others, awareness of self. The ability to observe your own thoughts without immediately believing them. The ability to question your own narratives without defending them. The ability to pause and ask a simple but profound question. Is this true? Not partially true. Not emotionally convincing, but actually true. This question begins to dismantle self-deception because it interrupts the automatic process. It creates space between you and the story, and in that space, something new becomes possible. Clarity. Clarity does not come from adding more information. It comes from removing distortion, from seeing what is there without editing it, without softening it, without reshaping it into something more comfortable. This is not easy, because self-deception is tied to identity, and identity feels like survival. To question your identity can feel like losing stability. It can feel like stepping into the unknown. But the unknown is where growth begins. The unknown is where new possibilities exist. The unknown is where truth becomes visible. If you are willing to look, if you are willing to sit with discomfort, if you are willing to allow truth to exist without immediately changing it. Because the first step is not action. The first step is awareness. Seeing clearly, without judgment, without resistance, without the need to fix. When you begin to see your patterns, your stories, your repeated thoughts, you begin to understand something important. You are not those thoughts. You are not those patterns. You are the one observing them. And the observer has choice. The observer can continue the story, or the observer can question it. And in questioning, something begins to shift. You notice where you have been minimizing your desires. You notice where you have been justifying misalignment. You notice where you have been avoiding truth because it requires change. And slowly, the illusion weakens. Not because you forced it, because you saw it. Seeing is powerful, because what is seen clearly cannot remain hidden. And what cannot remain hidden cannot continue operating in the same way. This is the beginning of transformation. Not dramatic, not immediate, but real. You begin making decisions that reflect truth instead of comfort. You begin speaking in ways that reflect honesty instead of protection. You begin choosing paths that align with who you are becoming, not who you once needed to be. And this is where identity evolves. Not through force, not through performance, through awareness, through willingness to see, through the courage to question your own mind. Self-deception dissolves when truth is consistently observed. Not once, not occasionally, consistently. Each time you choose to see clearly, you weaken the pattern. Each time you question a story, you loosen its hold. Each time you acknowledge something real, you strengthen your awareness. And awareness leads to alignment. Alignment between your thoughts, your actions, and your reality. This is where life begins to feel different. Not easier, but clearer, more intentional, more grounded in truth. And truth has a unique quality. It does not require constant maintenance. It does not require justification. It does not require reinforcement. It simply is. When you live in truth, your energy changes. Your decisions become simpler. Your direction becomes clearer. Because you are no longer navigating through distortion. You are moving with awareness. This is the invitation. Not to judge yourself. Not to criticize your past. But to recognize the patterns you have carried. To understand why they formed. And to decide whether they still belong in your life. You have the ability to observe. You have the ability to question. You have the ability to choose. And in that ability, you have the power to redefine your identity, not based on protection, but based on truth.